Do you know what brought me the most joy in my life? Rosetta tries to guess. Was it escaping the institute? Being welcomed by the townsfolk? The children's laughter? Or maybe it's another question Rosetta has no answer for. None of those, actually. She seems to see right through Rosetta's every thought. It was the moment they closed the coffin. Inside wasn't a monster, but a life people remembered as a good person. It's Rel, and let's dive into Punishing Grey Raven, a hack-and-slash gacha game that somehow gave us that bit of brutal writing. So, let's get into it. Immediately upon opening the game, that I downloaded today, I get another mandatory download for 6 minutes. Please have the initial download give an up-to-date version. I sat down ready and excited to play, but before even starting, I'm already going to do something else. Pass the update, and is that a horse girl? That's a different gacha game. And into the story. After mastering quantum computers and cold fusion, we reached for the stars, but a failed attempt at a zero-point reactor caused a virus to break out. I love when games use theoretical science phenomenon, even when they're not used in the most accurate way. We also get an AI revolt, and I am loving the art here, and the voiceover. Despite the punishing virus, humanity refused to abandon Earth, with several groups finding their own ways to survive. Babylon, the Forsaken of the Sands, Kowloon and her metropolis, Akadilak and the Iron Fortress, Eternal Engine, and the Forest Guard, Uma Musume. I love bits of lore on loading screens, particularly longer loading screens like this. There are abnormal readings on the surface, so we are sent in. We take control of Lucia, an armorless, red and black anime girl. We are thrown directly into the gameplay. AWSD for movement, and we get a tutorial to use basic attacks to generate signal orbs. So how do we basic attack? J? What finger am I supposed to use to hit that? Next tutorial is tap 3 adjacent orbs of the same color. Wait a second. Tap? Is this just a mobile game port? That would explain J as an attack button. Okay, here's a bit of an issue with the visual design. I'm supposed to dodge by pressing something. The arrows pointing to what I'm supposed to tap are covering the keybind, and once they disappear, the box around it is also covering it. With a bit of squinting, it's the K key. Again, what kind of keybind is that? And wait, right-click is also dash? It's a bit unusual. And interestingly, the mouse cursor seems to be permanently unlocked. Definitely a mobile game port that has not been ported to use common PC controls. But let's give it a chance and see if we can find the vision. Enemy health bars deplete very quickly, but even the first enemies have 5 bars you need to punch through. The camera doesn't feel great. I'm trying to run to the right, but it doesn't naturally follow my mouse movements, or where my character is facing/moving. Our next tutorial reads, pinging a red orb quickly after any 3 ping will trigger Padma Dual Blade. But the real problem, the game hasn't taught me what pinging is. Do we have a radar or a minimap to ping on? Am I supposed to make a high-pitched sound? Or is it just another word for tap? Because that's not the language you just used, or what the word means. But I am gonna go with that for now. Next tutorial. While in Lotus Dual Blade state, basic attacks will become enhanced. What's Lotus Dual Blade? I mean, it couldn't be Padma Dual Blades, because that is a very different name. But based on the order of these tutorials, it certainly seems like it is. More enemies fly onto the screen and start blasting at me. And now the enemies are time-stopped, and I've used all my red orbs, so I'll have to use basic attacks. And now I have 5? Let's just spam through this fight. The camera's pretty rough, but the attacks seem to auto-target, so spamming works surprisingly well here. After we move on, we get some dialogue from Lee, and I have no idea who that is, and an unknown construct alpha. At least it seems like I'm not supposed to know who she is. And then a Liv that I've never heard of before. Are Lee and Liv allies? Enemies? No time to explain. Alpha seems to know us. Then Lee says, she's completely ignoring my attacks. What attacks? I can see her standing right there, and you are not attacking her. At all! We fight the other red and black themed katana-wielding anime girl. But she has white hair and a sheath, and she is beating me pretty good. Blue and yellow orbs have started showing up, though I have no idea what this colors signify. The camera is still a bit rough, but the tab key has a focus icon on it. That doesn't change my camera view? Maybe it would cycle which enemy my attacks auto-target. Every once in a while, I can hit the L key for an ultimate, which seems to pause the game. That's a cool animation. Here's something I only noticed while rewatching my recording. Her damage went down as I got lower health. I might have been getting some sort of a defense buff. I did not understand what all the different orbs meant, but it also felt like it was making it so I couldn't fail. When my bar got to red, her attack started only dealing 1 damage. I could be imagining it, but I think the game was forcing you not to fail that fight. After an interesting angle to start off my finishing ultimate attack, we get a cutscene starting with a really neat first-person section. Okay, I had my suspicions before, but that's just me with a different Ascension stage, right? The cutscene is very nice. A sweet little mirrored flashback, and the fighting, while slightly exaggerated, still feels like the in-game combat. And ow, my poor arm. I wonder if Definitely Not Future Me has a prosthetic on that side or anything. And now we're looking at a guy in a suit with an eye patch in a space station. He tells us that our operational record over this period has been exceptional. I halted an awakened machine's deranged art show. No, I didn't. Purged the construct who was corrupted by her desperate love and defected. I don't believe I did that. Penetrated a derelict manor to confront the Ascendant lurking in the shadows. What even is an Ascendant, and why don't I remember dealing with it at all? Cleanse the desert wastes of its parasitic infestation. There are desert wastes? And they have parasitic infestations? Why didn't I know about that? Thwarted the Forsaken scheme and secured the recovery of a vital ally. Thwarted the Forsaken scheme and secured the recovery of a vital ally. I did? Okay, that bit's getting old. So, let's skip the rest. But honestly, where is this coming from? All of those things sound like really cool adventures for me to play. Not past events. Ooh, wait. Beginner missions have been set for all first-time squads. I can skip those, right? Because I have an exceptional operational record? I'm not a first-timer, right? Goodness. All of that is over only 13 minutes and change of gameplay. But stopping here and writing part of the script gave me a much better understanding of the game, though I'm still not certain on all of it. This is a mobile game port, and at least for the tutorial, a very poorly done one. The translation from mobile and Chinese left some major holes and inconsistencies. The Steam control scheme doesn't fit with modern computer game controls. I think the intent is for the player to have both hands on the keyboard, almost like typing of the dead, which is very uncomfortable and unnatural for me. The words tap and ping seem to be being used interchangeably, despite the fact that they mean very different things and don't even apply to the Steam version of the game. The layout isn't intuitive for the computer. I can literally see where I'd put my hands on mobile, but that doesn't work for the PC. Forcing the player through the signal orb, red orb, and 3-ping tutorial without checking for understanding of what seems like the core system is a surefire way to confuse your players, especially when the language doesn't match. They aren't orbs most of the time, and they certainly aren't pings. Also, not explaining the other colors of orbs before the boss fight feels like an oversight. I did figure out what the time stop mechanic was, and to be fair to the game, the explanation for it was pretty alright. I just missed the matrix dodge mechanic because the game was also time stopping for other tutorials. I still need to mess around with it, but the camera seems really rough so far. What the game does have going for it is vibes. The visuals are flashy but still hold plenty of punch to them. The cutscenes are gorgeous and the combat feels like something the gameplay characters would actually do. The voiceovers are well done and got me excited for the world. Now, that's not to say it's perfect. Introducing characters mid-mission like we know them, and giving us epic service records of things we never actually did, were both a bit off-putting, and felt unearned. To be blunt, this was a bad tutorial, and I really hope it gets fixed up. But, after rewatching my footage and writing this script, I think I have a better understanding of the mechanics, and a pretty good chance at having fun with the game, which is why I'm here. So let's dive in. We get a simulated review of past missions from Eyepatch Guy, and our first mission is Graffiti Art. And the first impression is, this feels really clunky. Then the game does the bad tutorial thing of brightly lighting up the next button to press and nulling out clicks anywhere else on the screen. This doesn't teach players to do the thing you're trying to tutorialize. It just teaches them to click the flashing button. You need to tell players what to do and have an intuitive enough design that they can find it themselves. Now we could click Exit Deadlock, but this completely removes the tutorial. which is not what I'm looking for either. We get to select a button config. So I pick recommended, because that should be them putting their best foot forward. Now onto the mission structure. Lucia lets us know we will be reliving memories of taking down the graffiti artist, and are able to ask for additional information, but has an option to just get right to it. Love this. Gives me control instead of forcing me. Of course, I explore all the options, and it's kind of interesting. We start off just after the fight against Definitely Not Me. Liv does some field repairs, and Lee notes her fighting. Shares great similarity to yours. Definitely not us, right? They really hit you over the head with the foreshadowing of who that is. Liv calls us Miss Wounded Lucia, which I don't know why, but it made me smile. We get a choice to search for surviving friendlies, and while it doesn't change the overall outcome, it actually does provide some different dialogue. Good on you, writers. We are dropped into the mission, and 2 enemies are attacking a downed construct. So we rush to save them. I like the sense of urgency the down friendly adds. Even if I could also just... We get a very similar tutorial with red orbs and 3 pings to trigger Padma Dual Blade, but it doesn't force us to use it, just suggests it, which I like a lot more. We fight through a few more basic enemies, and our arm goes down again. Since I am trying with both hands on the keyboard, the choices during cutscenes mean I have to fully reposition my hand to the mouse, which is a bit awkward. The corrupted are only supposed to follow the punishing virus, but our allied construct soldier tells us that they have been acting more and more organized, possibly due to the graffiti artist. So we take his arm. No, literally. Since ours is broken and he isn't doing well, he just gives us his arm, and after, he tells us where to find weapons for Liv. Man is just built different. Lee is able to quickly adjust the arm to us because he expected something like this to happen, which both Liv and Lucia take as him being dependable. Good laugh in there. Another tutorial that tells us what to do, gives us an opportunity to do it, but lets us have control. Very nice. I like this choice where we can either call our enemies monsters or actually respect their adaptability. It lets you roleplay with some actually interesting perspectives. Something that's come up a few times is that loading screen tips don't give enough time to read them. The art is gorgeous and the information is cool, but if it loads quickly, it can easily not give you enough time to read it. I really wish more games would have a push to continue when a load time is finished, rather than forcing you forwards. We take out a few more enemies and retrieve some guns for Liv, and she's ready for combat. Once we finish, she officially joins the team, and we get hit with what I'm guessing is the start of currency overload. 5 different material types just from this mission, though the game does explain most of them well if you click on them for details. Next, we are forced to collect chapter rewards, and Lucia Crimson Abyss. Yep, I was forced onto that screen, and the game decided that a popular party with a story spoiler on it was showed front and center. Next, we add Liv to the party, and the game teaches us about class details. Liv is a support, so she can repair and strengthen allies. While I'm reading the others, I get pushed forward, and from what I can tell, the only way to get back to that screen before the mission is to exit Deadlock, which leaves me rather frustrated. Our next level has us dive into the mine to learn how Liv works. She is a ranged healer support, much more my speed. After that mission, we are forced through the level up mechanic. We are made to upgrade Lucia through 3 different systems: level up, promotion, and skill up. And thankfully after upgrading Lucia, the game lets us have control, so I can explore the system and upgrade Liv, the character I actually plan on playing. I also decided that the recommended control scheme didn't work for me, so I rebound my mouse to accommodate the awkward keybinds. We jump back into the story and see feed of the graffiti artist using chemical warfare against our friendlies. And as we come out of it, we are ambushed by the artist himself. World without humans. Freedom. Creation. Yes, humans shall not return to Earth. And an array of color splatters onto Lee's jacket, but it's just paint. We are dropped into the mission, and just look at that animation. We punch through a few basic enemies and go chase after the artist. But the camera doesn't agree, so I have to take my hand and move it over to the arrow keys. Even with 2 hands on the keyboard, this would have been super awkward. His attempts to escape also feel a bit lackluster, since he just stands there while we beat up his minions. I'm still getting used to it, but Liv's abilities feel really good and her animations are great. The setting for combat feels a bit lacking, particularly the no entry, invisible barriers, but the fighting itself is pretty fun. We are so far in the future that Liv has to educate us on what a spray can is. Okay, more accurately what a spray can model is, and we learn that mechs and humans have never really seen eye to eye about art. Really interesting philosophical question. I hope we get more into it later. And another nice touch. The artist has jammed our radar so we can't locate him, but is leaving a trail of paint so we can track it the old-fashioned way. And after we fight some enemies on the ground even has a few paint splatters to follow. Though there really isn't another path, so it's not a puzzle mechanic or anything. Upon completing the mission, we meet Cecilia, someone who is planning on teaching us new stuff. We are forced to enhance Lucia's weapon. And Cecilia, your face looks different. Mismatched text box and nameplate aside, we are forced into a mission to test out Lucia's new weapon. Except, the game didn't plan on me having put Liv as my lead construct, and it won't even let me switch back to match the tutorial. So we're playing as Liv during Lucia's new weapon test. There's actually a really cute scene where Liv and Lucia go shopping, and they find a cute sheep and a frog plushie in the ruined store. And Miss Never Got a Traditional Childhood, Lucia, takes a liking to the frog. And I honestly think this is the best piece of art we have seen in the game so far. Really good. I'm getting better at the Matrix dodge mechanic, and perfectly timed dodges, stopping time feels really good. We get another tutorial on how to chain specific attacks after 3 pings for special moves. Third time we've had that, and one on using my ultimate. Lucia drops her plushie and feels a compulsion to go back and get it, because a strange yet familiar feeling, a voice speaking to her, telling her to never let it go. I am so excited to see where this plushie factors in later. I think my play experience so far can be summed up by my reaction to this part of the mission. I'm legitimately having a good time. Like, there is a million issues, but I'm legitimately having a good time. And a sudden stealth mission. It's a bit short, but serviceable. We unlock a new character, but the unlock doesn't really make sense or line up with the story. It sounds like it just assumes she's already been in the party. We still don't even know her name. Oh, and now she introduces herself as Cecilia? Wasn't that the other character? Another time of text lines and models currently on screen not lining up. We are pushed through another tutorial about research without being able to explore. Now we learn the character's name. A little late on that, but I guess better than never. And as I'm going to look at her abilities, beginner special offer. And that means it's shop time. The beginning offer is the typical 99-cent cost, hidden behind a price-obscuring currency, in this game, rainbow cards. Also, that English doesn't quite work. Recharge 99 cents to get 5 rainbow cards? Is that just trying to not have the word pay? Or is it just a translation issue? Lots of limited to make them seem more like deals you are missing out on. You can pay to get daily login bonuses, and there seems to be several different instances of this, just for more FOMO. Daily and weekly freebies to get you into the shop and seeing all the deals. Good deal banners. That implies that the rest of the shop is not a good deal. And I mean, I'm guessing that's not entirely wrong. How many layers deep can we get this early? Dollars to rainbow cards to black cards, and black cards to serum or gears. Purchasing rainbow cards is not as bad as many premium currency purchases I have seen. The number seems odd at first, but do match with a number of different shop items. It's not perfect, particularly on the limited shop, making the high value or limited leave you with extra cards. Still not customer friendly, but definitely could have been worse. Okay, this is bringing me down. Let's get away from the shop. And a new tutorial getting forced down my throat. Nanami has a chainsword. Cool. We get ready for a full frontal assault, and we get the best option ever. We can either nod or load gun. I have no idea why I thought that was funny, but I did. The Graffiti Artist monologues as we shoot through a bunch of mooks, apparently trying to spread the message of the sage, and keeps mentioning ascendants, though we don't know either of them yet. The artist believes humanity failed Earth, and it is time to accept that the age of machines is here. He doesn't believe that beings enslaved by the punishing virus could lead, but the artist claims to be freed by the sage machina. Really cool stuff. More mooks to take down, and we get a message from Liv. We can improve ourselves by taking down challenges. and then she reports for duty? You've been my lead for the last few missions. You've been on duty. We get thrown an event with more daily login bonuses, but you can get more rewards by purchasing the monthly pass. For those of you who have seen my other videos, I'll often mention how a shop is not intrusive, and it is easy to avoid for a significant number of hours of playtime. This kind of pushiness is what I don't want from my game. Tutorials and pop-ups shoving the shop into my face before I've decided if this is a game I want to put a lot of energy into kinda turn me off of putting that extra energy in. If I like your game, I will find the store, and I will support it. We are forced to upgrade Lucia again. Wait, spamming escape at the last minute let me back out. But it didn't give me any materials for my other characters. And after all that, Lucia's feeling some placebo. I can feel a big improvement. I literally didn't upgrade you. Okay, back to the story. And finally fighting the graffiti artist. And the fight is actually really good. I kinda get wrecked during it. Now I'm sure that part of it is that I'm avoiding upgrading my units, and a larger part because I'm bad and still learning the controls, but the damage output from the artist is no joke. You have to land your dodges, but also have to manage the dodge cooldown. Matrix dodges really help with that. You also need to be dealing decent damage, or his damage really will overwhelm you. Liv goes down rather quickly, and Nanami follows after taking a significant amount more health from him. Luckily, Lucia, despite the neglect my tutorial rebellion put on her, was able to finish off the graffiti artist for good. But honestly, that was a great fight. It ends on a rather somber note. Then after a moment, Lee goes to remove its memory core. But Cecilia radios in that we are being ordered back by President Hassan. Is our organization hiding something big from us? Where is it going to go? Tea break. Double check that we're recording too. Yup. That would have been bad. Back at Babylonia, the doctor, Asimov. Hey, another on-point reference. I wonder if they'll include any references to his work in the game. I hope they do. We don't have clearance to see Lucia. Only higher-ups are allowed in. And I gotta just read you the dialogue line for line after that. However, if it's that person who is simultaneously a soldier, scientist, and leader that I've admired since childhood, exceptions can be made. Too bad that person and I won't meet, at least in a physical sense, considering we live almost a whole era apart. It seems highly unlike this person is still alive. Apologies, I got sidetracked. Sidetracked? Dude, setting aside the grammatical mistakes there, why are you sharing that with just a commandant? Then he tells us to get out of the way, and I decide to refuse. And he threatened to file a complaint, but a stern man in a suit, named Nicola, maybe another reference, cuts him short because he needs to talk to Asimov about Lucia. Nicola tells us we should salute our commander, and I decide we are committing to roleplay as the command-defying, only care about my team commandant, and just stand there ignoring him. We get sent on our way and meet Cecilia in person. We get the typical protagonist spiel. Grey Raven is special. He picked us for a reason. We performed well. He's not at liberty to share everything yet, and the fate of the world is in our hands. And that's the end of the story chapter. We get given Lucia, Crimson Weave, for free. And in addition to spoiling the character, what is this outfit? That's not a combat outfit? Okay, here is the mystery transition. And I'll start by saying, everything I've said above is valid. It's what the game presents itself as. They are the recommended settings. They should be the game putting its best foot forward. Any issues with them absolutely will turn new players away from the game. That said, I'm stubborn, and I want to enjoy this game, so I tried really hard to figure out how to make it fun. Let's start by getting the basics in a comfortable place. I try the end boss fight again, modifying the keybinds and settings to make them more intuitive, and it immediately feels better, but not good enough yet. Another round to get more used to dodging and weaving my abilities together. Not perfect, but definitely better. Now that I'm feeling more comfortable with the combat mechanics, let's try out the upgrading ones. First things first, level up the main attacker. Then let's promote her too. Let's upgrade Liv as well. I've got the materials to evolve her, then another try against the boss. And okay, I played a little bit worse, but I can still feel the improvements from the upgrades I did. I also noticed that graffiti art is only 67%, but I've already 3 hexagoned all the scenarios. Wait, the chapter missions at the bottom are only 15 out of 23. And here is my savior for the game, the mission system. This was a far better tutorial for me than any of the actual ones. For graffiti art, I've already got all the missions for collecting all the stars, they're hexagons, but I can use the rest of them as a guide on what to do next. Enhance 2 pieces of gear to level 15. Okay, now I have a goal. Let's figure out how to do it. Looks like I've done one, but I don't remember when I did it. My guess is that it was one of the force tutorials, which clearly didn't work. It taught my brain to click on the flashing button, not why I'm doing it. I do end up learning the weapon upgrade system first by accident. Gear isn't the clearest term, but that's okay. When I do get to the memory, should have just used that as the name, it's a relatively intuitive process. We have 6 memory slots, and each memory we collect goes to a specific slot. If we equip multiple pieces of a set, we get a set bonus. Each memory provides additional base stats, and leveling them up increases those base stats. Honestly, a really fun upgrade system that allows for lots of customization and potential optimization as I gather more upgrade materials. And now that I've actually taken the time to learn it, because I wanted to, I'll remember it. Future Realm note, I actually do remember this a lot and upgrade my characters with memories regularly. All you have to do to get me to engage with your systems is tell me about it, give me incentives to engage with it, and let me go. When you don't make me think about it and just force me to click the flashing buttons, you're not giving me any reason to remember it. With those upgrades, run the boss back. Feels even better. Upgrades making a difference feels so good. And wait, I can change the UI layout as well. To the game's credit, the recommended UI setup is reasonable. That being said, it can be better for PC. Centralize things I need to be looking at regularly. On a phone, you can view the entire screen at once, and having the signal orbs on the side makes them easier to tap. But on PC, moving the important things to the center allows me to focus on the action while still seeing all my skills and resources, etc. Makes for a much better experience. Full props to the game for the level of customization available here. It's really easy to make a great UI. Alrighty, new UI, and back into the breach. And a dang near perfect fight. Only took 1 hit right at the end. That felt spectacular. So I had 0 tutorials today, but I've multiplied my effectiveness and enjoyment by an incredible amount. Why? Because I actually learned how the game worked. The reason I did was the game presented me with a challenge. That boss fight nearly took me down the first time, so I had a reason to engage with the game's systems. I found the mission system, which gave me a direction for upgrading my characters and incentives for doing so. I learned the combat better, because enemy attacks actually hurt. Better dodges meant less damage. Better attack rotations meant less time to miss dodges and take damage. Basically, what I'm saying is, instead of dragging me mindlessly through your systems, present me with a reason to learn, and by all means, give me something to use for direction. But don't let me turn my brain off. Let me engage with it, and I'll happily learn. And now that I have learned, I'm hyped to get into the next story. Operation Fallen Star. We meet the Forsaken, led by Backwards Agent 47, Watanabe. He has been keeping tabs on Babylonia and is interested in why they have pulled most of their ground troops, including Grey Raven. We also find out most of Babylonia's pilots have left to join the Forsaken. He guesses that we are planning on assaulting the space station and thinks that the Forsaken have a strong bargaining chip, so they can and should benefit from the confrontation. Ooh, interesting. I like this. This is cool. Now, back to Babylonia, where Asimov gets shoved out of the way by a new character, Karenina. They start having a conversation about using that thing against the space station. Karenina puts her cannon down. I think I'm gonna like her. We are sending landing teams to the space station to allow for us to study the punishing virus, including sending Grey Raven in. As we approach, friendly ships take the heat of the space station's defenses off us, but they don't last forever and we get hit. We engage our spacesuit and telepathic mind beacon and prepare for a crash landing. We blast through some constructs while Liv and Lee begin trying to learn about the station, when a broadcast comes on. A friendly reminder from Korlov: "Dear children, please treat public facilities with love and care." But that doesn't feel right. We re-establish temporary communications and find out Babylonia has retreated to a safe distance. But right as we are about to get more information, the relay is shot down. We press on to find the defense mechanisms to shut him down. And another side plot is opened. A civilian named Alan apparently knows a construct that is trapped on the station and wants to rescue her. A new face, the famous artist Ayla. Watanabe turns up again, looking ready to fly, and we learn he is wanted by Babylonia, but has made a deal with him. And back to Grey Raven. Investigate more devices, hold an area against constructs while we perform a hack. The heteromere material continues to transform into bots for us to cut down, while Liv continues to analyze and finally disables the weapon systems. Back to Ayla and Watanabe, who both seem to have an interest in the Commandant of Grey Raven, us. The Forsaken ships eliminate the station's defensive ships, and right as they're about to begin a fight against the station itself, it goes offline, likely our team's doing. He drops Ayla, but also finds an unmarked spacecraft, and his intuition and interest in Grey Raven leads him to come look for us. Good thing too, because we're at an impasse. Everything covered by thick black matter that we lack the firepower to bypass. He makes contact, and flies his ship down the interior of the station. And I like Liv's response here. What? His guns don't break through, so he jumps out of his ship, superhero lands, and lets the crashing ship destroy the barrier. Well, Watanabe faces away. Maximum cool guys don't look at explosions vibe. Then we get to play as Watanabe, and he backhand dual wields his swords. We punch through a bunch more bots, and we learn that our team has some history with Mr. Cool. Then the game gives us a new frame and forces us into a tutorial. That feels a little off, particularly since she's unrelated to the story I'm currently playing through. The tutorial is okay. It has a major case of flashing buttons, but it does explain what to do, accepts other inputs, and makes sure I can perform the skill before moving on. We meet the unknown guest and their employer, a masked and cloaked person and another cute anime girl. The broadcast decided that we are bacteria and has decided to space us by partially self-destructing. Turns out, as long as the core is around, it can always come back together. We get a hacking puzzle. We have to hit terminals with shapes to move these pillars around, and
I legitimately have no idea,
or maybe I do. And back to stuff I kinda understand. Smashing robots. Now we have to buy Liv time to manually change the parameters of the electromagnetic lock. Lucia and Watanabe agree to go into Liv's hacking space and give her more time. We play as Mr. Edgelord and race to clear as many constructs as we can. We finish with this sick shot of the two of us fighting together. While we defended them, Lee recorded some logs, and Liv started decrypting them. When the punishing virus attacked the station, it took over the core, causing the gravity disorder we see behind us. Attracting more and more punishing virus, the core grew extremely dense and gained the ability to gather and disperse at will, being called the punishing heteromere. While operating, a cross shape seems to control local units. Not sure how much the science jargon actually makes sense, but cool stuff and useful information for both taking down this core and for humanity's continued fight against the punishing virus. We jump right into a mini boss fight, and just look at that background. Wicked. We put our new power to use, and man, this area just keeps getting cooler. Babylonia blasts a hole in the cabin wall. Doesn't look like a cabin, but okay. And with Lucia and Watanabe's help, Liv and I are able to hold on. We aim our gun at Karlov's weak point and fire. The boss is sucked into space. Karenina contacts us and lets us know Prism is ready, and we need to stabilize the core to allow her to line up the shot. We punch past more of the crossbots and their minions, and I just can't get over the spectacle of this area. The spinning layers and adjusting them to make a level path for us to follow to the center is just awesome. Ayla contacts us and tells us some more information to help us move forward, and we get a small puzzle section. We have to align light beams, and as soon as I understand what to interact with, the clues are really easy to understand. And after bashing through more constructs, we align more rings and continue to the center. The puzzles aren't too difficult, but if you don't want to turn your brain on, there's a back-end hacking timer from Lee and Liv, which I'm guessing will push you through anyway. Ayla gets attacked by an Ascendant and our signal is cut off. But before we can try to help her, it drops down and just stares at Lucia. Liv and Lee's shots don't put a dent in it. And just as Lucia and Mr. Reverse Grip are about to charge him, Ayla falls on him with a scythe. He's able to deflect her, but reveals he is carrying the carcass of a construct, likely the one Ayla was trying to save. He refuses to attack and flees the scene, with one final look at Lucia. Just how many people think you're a special girl? Ayla chases him down, but tells us to focus on our mission. The punishing virus pieces begin to follow us, but not attacking, almost like it is showing us some level of intelligence. Concerning, but not as much as the other bots coming after us. We keep punching through and aligning more rings, making it to the center platform to reveal a mechanical worm rooted in the center. We punch through its laser shooting, gravity manipulating powers. We set our actually supportive lone Wolf Watanabe to help Karenina to stabilize Prism. A railgun while we fight the core, which has some absolutely sweet animations. Our upgrading and practice makes the fight not particularly close, but we haven't won yet. Makoto is finally lined up and blasts the core. And man, these stylized still arts are just the best. Underneath the core we fought is a red and black cube. We only took the shell off it. It begins to gather energy and launches itself at Earth. Our devoted edgelord jumps into action, calling his pilots to head towards Earth, and we try to follow after. We get a sweet cutscene of his plane flying after the cube. Except it's not a cutscene, and now we're controlling his ship. It turns into a bullet hell game. It's got a decent number of mechanics, but they don't feel too fleshed out. That being said, the surprise of the new mode and the story leading up to it make it feel pretty neat anyway. And after several minutes of pursuit, he takes it out. But the firepower he uses consumes him, and we lose connection. After finishing it, I decided to jump into the actor event, Rosetta. I'm guessing this event will need higher level characters, so I do some upgrades and dive into it. Quick heads up, the game gets a fair bit darker here. You can skip to that timestamp if that's not your cup of tea and you just want to see the conclusion. We start out as a scientist investigating a crashed vehicle. Then someone shoots us down from behind, leaving his brilliant mind reduced to a grim, blossoming red wound, now exposed to the falling snow. Way darker, followed by the description of the attack on the Institute. The air reeks of scorched fur, burnt leather, and oily black smoke of half-incinerated flesh. No one escaped. Countless bodies lie frozen before the giant floor-to-ceiling windows. The flames twisted the bodies into unnatural shapes. Interlaced arms and legs make the half-collapsed Institute building resemble a giant spider's nest. Everyone is dead. Now we jump back to several hours before the attack on the Arctic Research Institute. And apparently, ever since the Amberia incident went public, the Arctic Institute haven't dared cross lines with research constructs. That's not particularly reassuring. We get flashbacks to what I'm guessing are previous stories or events. And apparently our name is Commandant 05828. We gotta fix that at some point. We are helping Rosetta adjust to a frame replacement that lets her switch into a horse girl. The researcher goes to get some tea. Boom! An explosion rocks the room, blowing the researcher apart. Rosetta shields us as heavily armored constructs approach. We reach for our comms, and nothing on Channel 1. Channel 2, no response. Channel 3, finally an answer. Run! They're everywhere! Wherever you are, just... The call ends with a dull, wet, tearing sound. We begin to form an escape plan with a wounded Rosetta, but we won't leave behind the other possible survivors. We rush down a group of constructs and grab a transport vehicle. We get the remaining researchers on board and blitz through the horde into the outside. As we make our escape, we lose our side mirror, leaving a blind spot for a corrupted to attack. Despite her best efforts, Rosetta can't make it in time. And another explosion. The end of our story. After the explosion, only flames remain, burning quietly across the snow. They whisper the plain's cruel truth. Only the dead ever know true peace. Somehow, aside from some mild burns and bruises, we survived. And Asimov is just as confused as I am. I've run out of compliments for your luck. Some of the stories we've missed must have had some pretty miraculous. Some of the stories we have missed must have had some miraculous survivals as well. The communication is rough, but there is a safe house. It's far off, but we might be able to make it. He asked to speak with Rosetta, but she's not fully here. Hearing something, she begins to push on, pulling us with her. But her exhaustion gets the better of her as her vision goes dark. She comes to, looking at a bright cabin in a small settlement, a haven in the land of snow, one she recognizes, her grandpa's cabin. A voice that should never be heard again tells her she is in the realm of the departed. Every word she speaks feels straight out of her memories. The simple wooden cabin opens its arms to her, warm light spilling out like a soft carpet welcoming her home. She sees her grandpa, the magic dragon, again. They go out on a hunting trip, where Rosetta says she can actually outrun deer now. She tries to shoot the deer that they are hunting, and misses, so she starts to run after it, but a hand on her shoulder holds her back as she comes back to reality. She talks with Asimov and tells us that we need to make it to the safe house in 5 days. But we quietly observe the 5 days wasn't part of his explanation to us. But she brushes off her question about her condition. A little suspicious. The line, "You both give each other a final check, making sure all your gear is secure," somehow made the characters' connection feel more like an equal partnership than an officer and subordinate. Something about it just felt wholesome. That's the end of the second part of the story, and no combat to test out my new upgrades yet. But I'm really liking it so far. At the start of the next section, we, the player, not the character, learn that the 5-day limit is actually because of Rosetta's deteriorating condition. We continue our journey and have a really sweet scene about the afterlife. Rosetta walks ahead of you, saying nothing. Her silence gives away the thoughts she's trying to sort through. Well, where do you think people go after they die? Why ask all of the sudden? Still thinking about what you saw earlier? Your grandpa? Rosetta turns back to you. You've never seen her eyes hold so much confusion and sorrow. Yes. Is there really such a thing as a realm of the departed? Maybe something exists, but not the kind you're picturing, Rosetta. There's disappointment hidden in her silence. But what? This planet itself is the realm of the departed your grandpa spoke of. Rosetta stays silent, following behind you, chewing on your words. Every life on this planet is born here, dies here, and eventually becomes part of the world's very foundation. The wind begins to pick up, sweeping the fine snow into the air. The horizon starts to blur as the ground and sky blend together. This entire world is built on those who came before us. You walk ahead of Rosetta, through the rising snow, clearing both the path before you and the doubts clouding her mind. And when we, the living, have finished enjoying, or enduring, this world built by the departed. Enjoy? Or endure? Are you saying not everyone lives in this world with hope, Rel? You push forward against the wind and snow. At the top of a snow ridge, you extend your hand back towards her. Yeah. And after that, we leave this world to those who are still here, still fighting to survive. And what about us? We turn away, quietly stepping into the realm of those who came before us. We become part of the world again, remaining here as one more thread in the fabric of this planet. In the swirling snow, Rosetta stands beside you, at the ridge you helped her climb, taking in everything you just said. So, does that mean we all become the departed one day? Yeah. Departing is something that is always happening, even now. We're departing right now? Yeah. Which is why, before we turn to join them, Rosetta, you gently wipe away the frozen snow clinging to her cheek. What we must do is try our best to leave something behind in this world. Something for those who come after us. The next generation to live in. You stop walking, remove your heavy gloves, and scoop a handful of pristine snow. The moment your skin meets the ice, a raw exchange of heat begins. Rosetta watches as the fine snow melts quickly in your palm, leaving the warm skin beneath flushed red from the cold. So, that means Grandpa is... She seems to realize something and looks to you for confirmation. You only meet her gaze gently, offering neither a nod nor a shake of the head. Rosetta remembers clearly how her grandpa's soul slipped away with his body's warmth as she held him, while she desperately searched for a serum to resist the punishing virus. Yet, even the punishing virus spares the dead. Death is not a disease. It can't be cured. Believe this. Your grandpa has always remained in the same world as us. Rosetta doesn't look at how painfully red your outstretched hand has become. She simply takes it in hers, passing her warmth into your cold fingers. I do believe that. I really liked this section, both as an interesting point of view and giving the player character some actual personality. They still have some of the qualities of a blank slate self-insert MC that many games have, but moments like this help reduce it. With the worsening weather, we look for shelter, finding a cave. As we go to start a fire, Rosetta slips back into the land of the departed, traveling at night with her grandpa. And another absolute banger of a scene. A dying deer lies within the pit, its eyes reflecting the grandpa and granddaughter studying their catch. Rosetta recognizes the fear and despair she once knew all too well. Rosetta, this one's yours. Rosetta jumps into the pit and quickly finds the point on the deer's neck that will end its suffering the fastest. As the blade sinks into its flesh, the deer lets out its final cry. Grandpa, did I forget to pray again? There is no need. You're already an exceptional warrior, Rosetta. You've faced more life and death than I ever have. You understand the weight of it. The weight of life and death? The old hunter dresses the animal with practiced skill. Fresh death sends streams of fading warmth into the frigid forest air. You've long known how to face the death of others, haven't you? Including mine. I'm sorry, Grandpa. I'm so sorry. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't... Don't say that, silly child. He hands the torch to Rosetta, then turns and steps back into the darkness they came from. I'm the one who should be sorry, child. The firelight can't reach his face. It only outlines the stooped silhouette of the old man carrying his prey. Rosetta knows he will never grow older, nor younger again. He remains frozen at the age of his death. Later, and my death has changed you as well, my child. Death, what is it like? Only the dead truly know, but they can't tell anyone their thoughts or feelings, for their consciousness vanishes the instant death takes hold. The living, however, can only imagine. They imagine the regrets of the dead left behind, imagine the hopes they never fulfilled, imagine their own guilt, imagine that the dead linger in the world as some spiritual echo, and so the living reshape themselves through the imagined versions of the dead. Rosetta, do you know? This is exactly what I feel guilty for. His voice is low, weighed down by helpless sorrow. He never turns around, and, just as she can only imagine the moment of his death, Rosetta can only picture the emptiness in his expression she can't see. The dead hold power over the living, through the one experience the living can never have: death. After that heavy philosophical talk, we gather our gear and head out, unfortunately finding enemy indicator lights. Finally a fight, and Rosetta plans to handle them. But worrying about Rosetta's condition, we recommend trying to detour around them. We get this really sweet scene that flashes between us making plans and memories that mirror Rosetta's lessons with her grandfather. Really gave that exhilarating feeling of truly applying your training. Also, young Rosetta is adorable, and I love how they aged her up. Especially curious about why her eyes changed color. We get the perspective of an enemy team. and it's a bit comical. Then we jump to Rosetta, drifting into another vision. One of an ambush hunt that didn't work out. Having Grandpa teach her that sometimes it isn't the right time to strike. As she comes back to, 3 enemies have tracked us back to our cave, following Rosetta's blood. But that was our plan. We daze them with our flashlight, and Rosetta dives in, dropping one with ease. She fights with the 2 remaining ones in the dark cave, quickly coming out on top. Unfortunately, she has several new wounds. We patch her up the best we can as we prepare for the next part of our plan. Then we get a really trippy scene in Rosetta's perspective. Rosetta drifts in and out of uneasy sleep, the endless darkness of the polar night washing over her dreams again and again. Night follows night. Darkness follows darkness. Her dreams become a chamber of thick mercury, trapping whatever clarity or reason she has left. Between dreams, she is somehow awake. Her consciousness doesn't move in a straight line. It drifts like scattered fragments on that ocean of mercury. Sometimes the world forms blurry shapes. Sometimes it warps into things she can't even recognize. She watches herself from impossible angles until even the concept of language decays and collapses. There's no describing, no reasoning. Words simply cannot hold something that slips beyond them. Rosetta! Her name, her anchor, the moment it echoes through her mind. All her scattered senses rebuild themselves around it. The dark, muddled dream collapses in on itself, and her consciousness tears through the thick membrane, pulling her back to you. A really nice use of minimal animation to get across the feeling of the scene. Across from you, Rosetta lies wrapped in a blanket, caught in another restless dream. As she wakes in the lands of the departed, they are holding a funeral. Stop all the clocks. Cut off the telephone. Give the dog a bone so it stays quiet. The piano chokes with grief, and the drums murmur low. As the mourners settle into place, the coffin is lifted to the front. She was a victim of the Nephilim Institute. Her parents sent her away before they died, saving her at the cost of their own lives. The amalgamator experiments left her permanently injured, confining her to a wheelchair for the rest of her life. Yet she harbored no hatred, no resentment, no self-pity. She treated every remaining day as a gift, living with a sincerity and effort few could match. The helicopter circles overhead in a sorrowful arc, as if scribbling an obituary across the sky. Black ribbons tied around the pale necks of carrier pigeons. Signal officers in black gloves. Rosetta doesn't feel their grief. The funeral is so complete, so meticulous, it leaves her strangely displaced instead. She stands among the mourning crowd, calm to the point of seeming distant. Before her, people place fresh flowers into the coffin as if exchanging them for more sorrow, more tears. Then it is her turn. The girl lies quietly in the coffin, yellow and white flowers draped over her like a simple dress. Rosetta studies the face, familiar yet not, and tries to reconstruct the life the mourner spoke of moments earlier. She has countless questions, and no one here can answer even one. You haven't said what you wanted to say, have you? In a haze, the girl surrounded by flowers opens her eyes. They hold no anger, no fear, just clarity and kindness. Time, the mourners, and all the grief around them freeze in place. Ambaria. Except for I'm sorry. I know you want to ask, was this the life you wanted? And my answer is yes. This was the life I dreamed of, and the death I wished for. People cry for me, they cherish me, miss me. My passing brings them together, lets them remember what came before. Ambaria rises from her eternal rest in a world frozen still. She leans closer to her mourner, whose tears hang suspended mid-fall, and wipes them away. She walks through the halted moment, pausing by each familiar face, offering a soft look of comfort, a quiet farewell. After completing that silent ritual, she returns to stand before her coffin. Do you know what brought me the most joy in my life? Rosetta tries to guess. Was it escaping the Institute? Being welcomed by the townsfolk? The children's laughter? Or maybe It's another question Rosetta has no answer for. None of those, actually. She seems to see right through Rosetta's every thought. It was the moment they closed the coffin. Inside wasn't a monster, but a life people remembered as a good person. Rosetta watches as Umbaria slips back into the coffin, draped with flowers and memories. She whimpers in her sleep, and we immediately go to check on her. Back in the land of the departed, after the funeral, talking with Lisa, her old best friend. Fascinating choice to make her faceless. The polished stones mark the newly departed. Evening settles in, and the dead resume their quiet labor of eternal rest. No one waves to her now. No one ever will again. Lisa, is that you? What were you staring at? Embadia? You knew her? In a way, yes. She was a good person, right? Rosetta hesitates. Which Embadia should she judge? The living one, the dead one, or the one in her dream? There is no answer she can give. Maybe. Oh, right. Where are you staying these days, Rosetta? On Babylonia. Whoa! The Babylonia? The one where everyone lives together, up in the sky? It's a colony ship. Oh, whatever. How are you doing? What's your job like? Is it hard? The barrage of questions from her old friend leaves Rosetta completely unprepared. Worse, she realizes she hasn't thought about these questions herself. It's not bad. Babylonia is a good place, and I have comrades who look after me. As for work, I fight the punishing virus and the corrupted. Huh? Isn't that dangerous? You're not going to... Oh, you're still alive, thank goodness. Don't come join me too soon, okay? Lisa, why did you... Rosetta already knows this girl is among the dead, but the question escapes her mouth before she can even form the words. Why? Because we're best friends. Who'd ever want their best friend to die young? The lively girl quickly realizes she didn't answer the question Rosetta meant. She turns and makes a goofy face at Rosetta, tongue sticking out. Oh, you mean why I went belly up and died? It was not long after you were taken and modified, Rosetta. The forest near your old home had been rebuilt into a food processing plant. Lisa glances around and points towards a spot tucked behind the mountains. Rosetta can't tell if it's the place she once lived with her grandpa. Once the factory opened, the whole area smelled like cooked food in summer. Just thinking about it makes my mouth water. Back then, all of us kids dreamed of sneaking in for a feast. One day we overheard adults saying the factory might be shut down. To us, that was the perfect chance. The two girls retrace the road from that morning, talking about whatever comes to mind. The tired old sun still shines steadily, not rushing either girl home. And then, the factory was abandoned because the Arctic route issued an early corruption invasion alert. We kids didn't know that, so when we finally snuck in and were stuffing our faces, the corrupted rushed in. At least before we died, we finally got to taste all the things we never had. I really wish you could have tried them too, Rosetta. But maybe it's better you weren't with us. You're the one who has to keep on living for our sake now. Lisa. Oh, come on. Don't make that face. It happened ages ago. Anyway, enough of that. Oh, right. That narwhal you brought back? It's really smart. Yeah, Derek can actually understand what we say. Oh, so its name is Derek. Did you name it Rosetta? What felt like an endless walk home ends at a fork in the road before they even realize it. The wary sun has already dipped below the horizon. Under a dim yellow streetlight, the two girls finally reach the moment of parting. Rosetta, I want to ask you one more thing. Ask me anything. We're best friends, aren't we? Why didn't you come to my funeral? The aging streetlight flickers at the worst possible moment. Between bursts of light and darkness, Rosetta realizes she's standing alone beneath it. The dead give her no chance to answer, no chance to apologize, defend herself, lie, argue, make excuses, deceive herself, comfort herself, or dodge the question. Is there anything I can do to make it right? You can feel guilty. That guilt is proof that the dead hold power over you through the one experience you can never have, death. Why didn't you come to my funeral? This is the friend you longed for. Rosetta, I regret never telling you. This is the truth you longed for. The faulty streetlight goes dark for good, and the night sky's deep black washes over the ground. The world drains of color, unfolding like a funeral from start to finish. The stars are useless now. Extinguish them all. Wrap away the moon. Take apart the sun. Drain the oceans. Sweep the forests clean. The departed are gone. None of this matters to them anymore. The crossroads twist into a single knot as the colorless world turns liquid. The ground betrays you. You slip, you sink. The fading colors declare their verdict without mercy. You are expelled from the realm of the departed. I was not ready for this game to go that heavy. Absolutely beautiful job, giving me the feeling of this woman dragging herself through her regret. And I absolutely love the occasional use of text not in the usual place, emphasizing points spectacularly. And it keeps going. We analyze one of the cores from the enemies we took down to continue to make our plans. And as we approach the safe house, we must make it past a set of ruins. And wait, she's a 3D model now? And that's a different setup for dialogue. Wait, we exist too? And, ooh, I might have to censor that hand-holding. Too cute for YouTube. We actually get up and sit next to her. And what is this style? I really like it. Much more personal. And my goodness, the head lane. Are they trying to overwhelm us with wholesomeness and cuteness? But the situation is still dangerous, and it's time for us to move. We use the blizzard as cover from any patrols moving around. And I love how this cutscene is done in gameplay. Despite us not actually being able to deviate from the path, having to push the controls to move us forward makes it really feel like we are actually pushing through the storm. And there are enemies ahead. We hunker down and hide from our rabbit. And more hand-holding. Please don't report me to YouTube. And we have to help her. You alright, Rosetta? Okay, much better. Let's move. And that's exactly what I do with my arm when I'm walking through heavy winds. Nice touch. But Rosetta stopped talking. Wait, turn around. No. We lost her in the blizzard. We agreed to meet at the evacuation point if we got separated. Rosetta is back with her grandpa. Back with the rest of the departed. They're telling her to stay longer, begging her to stay with them. She pushes through, refuses to stay. She says her goodbyes to the departed, and turns to take on the enemy, crashing through them in close quarters combat. Heat drains from her frame, and her movements begin to slow. Her grandfather sends her off. You needn't carry every burden alone. She pushes on, her vision beginning to blur, or her strength leaving her, and she falls. We push on. We search for her, calling out, but Rosetta has gone silent. And yet we push on. Back to her, fighting through the forest of her childhood. The familiar figure appears once more. Aren't you going to see how your own funeral turns out? The yellow-eyed Rosetta asks. I am the one who is dying. Her younger self, yellow-eyed self, is hunting with her grandpa, just as she is about to loose an arrow. Child, not yet. It is not your time to face life and death. They retreat, but young Rosetta returns and tries to shoot, only grazing it. Rosetta begins to step in to save her younger self. Don't let those of us who died chain you in place. Don't stay trapped in guilt and regret. Run, child. And how on earth did this game make me care so much about an anime robot horse girl? That story was absolutely fantastic. Wonderful uses of different shots for particularly important moments. It included some really sweet lessons and some extremely wholesome moments of care. I've played a lot more of this game, and honestly, I'm still playing it. And it certainly suffers plenty of issues. Systems bloat, tons of forced tutorials, abuse of FOMO, etc. But honestly, despite all of that, I had and am having fun. I'm doing wars, resource gathering, story missions, and honestly, because of how much I care about the characters, trying to learn the bloated systems. The biggest issue I had with the game was the first impression. The initial tutorial was so unpolished, it almost turned me off the game entirely. And while I absolutely think the developers should fix it, make sure to put their best foot forward so players, even their Steam players, can get into the game and enjoy it. I am happy that I kept going and got to experience the later, more well-written stories and gameplay. I ended up using some of my free currency on research, the gacha mechanic, and look who showed up. This was only my second pull, and yeah, I looked at the rates. I think this is crazy lucky. And look where she is now. Yes, I know you can upgrade characters more. I just don't have the resources. I'm working on it. There are plenty of other fun stories I have with this game so far, but I do think I'm going to leave it there. On the high note, Rosetta's story. So, if you made it this far, thank you. And I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night.